Let's talk our viola excerpt number 1. Now this excerpt is nice and short. While we could play this in third, or a lot of this in third position for simplicity, let's talk about it just in first position. So this excerpt we count in 2. Our half note is our pulse. Usually we find our quarter note is our pulse, so that will be a little different than maybe you're used to. So we also find we have a lot of ties in this excerpt, a lot of ties over our bar line or a measure line. So as a reminder, a tie symbol looks a lot like a slur, exactly like a slur, but has a slightly different meaning. So when we see that marking and it's the same note on either side, think of it more as a plus sign, right? So if you're looking at 62, measure 62, we have this G in the second half of the bar that has that symbol holding over into the beginning of 63. So that will sound like, in this case, a beat and a half versus 2 separate notes. So if we also look at the very beginning, measure before, 61, we have all of these eighth notes. Da, 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 da. We have this crescendo from mezzo forte to forte. So what we want to do with our bow, we want to sit that bow in the middle, okay? And instead of being short and separated like a staccato, we want to really connect everything. So we want to set that bow into the string, and the name of the game in this excerpt is going to be moving your bow. So using lots of bow to create this big, beautiful sound. So while with eighth notes, we start with this little bit smaller bit of bow. So if you looked close, I started with the less bow and then gradually got bigger. This created this natural crescendo, or getting louder throughout that measure without having to think too hard about it, having to work too hard. The last note of this measure is something you will want to mark in. It is a F natural, low 2, right? And next to it is going to be an F sharp, beginning of the next measure. So we're going to go from a low 2 to a high 2, back to back. So that's an easy one to miss, and it creates this really cool sound. Jumping ahead to measure 66, we have a sharp sign in front of our G. We have a G sharp. So on the D string, that third finger is going to sit a half step higher, right? It's going to be, if you have tapes, in between third and fourth tape. So we go from this G sharp to fourth finger on the A string, E. Notice that it's just a little step above, half step above, but on the next string over. So that's how you can find that fourth finger E. And then right after that, we have a G natural, right? We're reminded, oh yeah, that third finger is going to come back, if it'll focus, to our normal position. So we go from G sharp, high 3, fourth finger E, pick up and set back down, open A, B flat. So this B flat is going to be a low 1. So really bring that first finger, draw it back for this beautiful sound. And then in the next measure, which is 68. So we're going from this B flat, okay, to a E natural on the next string. So that's another one I would mark in as a reminder. B flat is going to be a low 1. E natural on the D string, just our normal 1 on the tape. So this, so we go from B flat, E, F natural, low 2, and then we have an A flat. So this one isn't too hard to find. If I use my third finger as a reference point, an A flat is just going to be a half step above, right? Just being right there. As a reminder, an A flat cannot be on the A string at all because that will be lower than our open A string. So it has to be on the D string with that fourth finger. All right, so if we go from the beginning, then we have to count these ties, right? So I'm going to start from 62. So we're going to leave the eighth notes aside for just a moment. So we have beat 1, beat 2, and 1. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. If you noticed, I only counted to 2. And that is because if the half note is our pulse, we only have 2 half note beats in one measure. So that's how we're going to count. 1, 2, 1, 2. So use that bow arm, expand that a lot, because this is what will get you this beautiful tone and this big forte sound, right? So if we take a little slower, this is what it sounds like.